from the largest and most impactful law enforcement event of the year. The 2024 International Association of Chiefs of Police Annual Conference and Exposition is bringing together thousands of public safety personnel, and only IACP TV is taking you beyond the meeting. Welcome to Boston and to IACP TV. I'm your host Stephen Bourne, and I'll be here all this week. We'll be showcasing how IACP is helping our men and women in blue advance their knowledge, build stronger leadership skills, and learn to collaborate on a global scale. Straight ahead today, we'll sit down with those at the helm of the IACP to see about the state of local law enforcement today.
I would challenge anyone that is interested in getting involved in the ICP in a meaningful way to do so.
More on the priorities we're focused on heading into the future, plus
what we call today CRIT, Crisis Response Intervention Training.
The new focus on crisis response intervention training, how officers are becoming better equipped to handle mental health crisis situations. And our film series tour kicks off in sunny California today as we highlight the innovative departments finding new ways to police and protect their communities. Each of our stops today will showcase the work being done in the Golden State. It's a busy first day here on ICP TV, and there are plenty of ways for you to watch. Find the latest episode on the in-house channel at our partner hotels, on the IACP meeting website, and on all our social media channels, and of course on the TVs here at the Boston Convention Center.
Thanks, Stephen. I'll take it from here. We have been busy here in Boston, and we are excited to get to today's episode. Up first, Stephen's engaging sit-down interview with outgoing IACP President Wade Carpenter. Let's take a look back at the year in review.
Chief Carpenter, thank you ever so much indeed for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time, so thank you.
Glad to be here.
It's quite an honor being IACP President. So how's your year been?
It's been very, very busy. Yeah, we've traveled probably to 10 or 12 different countries. Very, very busy, constantly on the move, and have had opportunity to meet with delegations from all of those countries. It's been very rewarding as far as the interaction that we've had, and obviously sharing some of IACP's best practices globally.
So what have some of the highlights been?
I would think one of the highlights, when I look back at the National Police Week, was a very touching time for me to sit on the dais and look out over 30,000 officers and their families and think about the ultimate sacrifice of those officers that they paid and that their families paid to this great profession. And thinking globally as we travel to know that that doesn't just affect us here in the United States, it truly affects every law enforcement officer, every man and woman that puts on the badge. And when we have one of our own that are killed in the line of duty, it absolutely impacts all of us.
As you say, a great profession, and in many ways that's what you're at the top of. So what advice would you give to a younger person who might be in the audience this week about maybe how to have a leadership role in the ICP?
You know, it's funny because I've talked with many of the other presidents and past presidents and many of the executives at IACP, and many of us when we were young officers pushing a patrol car, we never thought we would be here at the IACP doing what we're doing. And what a great honor and opportunity it's been. I would challenge anyone that is interested in getting involved in the IACP in a meaningful way to do so. There are numerous opportunities, both on sections and committees. Sections anyone can participate in, and committees you can gain appointment to. You can also do self-nominations for those. So I would invite you to get on the website and pull up the committees you're interested in and put yourself out there. Take the opportunity to nominate yourself for those committees.
That's great advice. Now my last question is, it's great to be here in Boston.
Absolutely.
I always look forward to coming to Boston. So what are you most looking forward to this week?
I love Boston. One of the things that I really enjoy is Chiefs Host Night. And the reason I enjoy that so much is an opportunity for law enforcement officers and their families to spend time together in a casual setting to where everyone's guard is down and we really get an opportunity to spend time together as a larger global family.
Well, thank you ever so much indeed for your year as president. Thank you ever so much for joining us today. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Friday night in San Pablo, police find members of the Richtown Crips hanging on a street corner. The cops take names.
20 years ago, San Pablo's reputation was kind of bad because we had high crime.
We were the most violent city per capita in the nation. So crime reduction has been incredible. We have new facilities, new businesses. We have reduced juvenile arrests by more than 85% in the past 2 decades.
I've seen our city of San Pablo thrive and be more connected to the San Pablo Police Department.
We have full-time staff dedicated to delivering community programming.
Our outreach, we've helped with businesses, we've helped with residential, with the juvenile and the elderly population.
The police department create place where neighbors feel safe coming out, where businesses feel safe, where micro-entrepreneurs are coming out and they're growing jobs.
We're doing our job in making San Pablo a safer place to live, work, and play.
IACP 2024 is equipped to innovate. Well, what does that mean and what's in store for this exciting week ahead? Well, I'm absolutely delighted now to be joined by Vince DeLucci and Terry Cunningham here in the studio to discuss just that. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you again, Stephen.
Good to see you, Stephen.
Good to see you too. Just this last time we were by the seaside, but it was a bit warmer, right?
A tad. It's going to warm up.
It's lovely to be here in Boston. So let's kick off. What's the year been like for the IACP? What are some of the highlights and maybe challenges of the year?
So I would start, clearly our highlight is for more than a decade now, we've grown our membership again this year, hitting another record high for the 12th consecutive year, I believe it is.
Well, yeah.
And for us, that shows value. People see value in being a member of the IACP, which equates to us having more of an advocacy weight and voice when we talk about topics, which leads to folks wanting to come to the IACP conference in Boston 2024, sure. Which leads to a lot of education. So how we look at it, Stephen, is the value that IACP provides to our individual members is just built upon by the value that we provide our individual members.
Yeah, I'd just add that I don't think the organization's ever been healthier from a financial standpoint or from a growth standpoint. Whatever metric you want to use, we're in really good shape.
So what are some of the new things that you've been innovating with this year in 2024?
Well, first I'd like to start some of our grant programs that we've been working on. So our CRITAC program, which is our Collaborative Reform Initiative Technical Assistance Center, has been very, very successful. A lot of our VALA work that we've been doing, so officer safety and wellness, suicide prevention, been very successful. Resiliency training, doing some work on, the committees have been doing some work on artificial intelligence, right. As it relates to the police, which, there's a lot going on there, there's a lot happening. And then again, a lot of our entrepreneurial services, our leadership services, our Women in Policing Institute.
And we've showed a real growth in global engagement.
Right.
That continues to be a strong point for us and an area of focus relative to making sure that we're not only touching the police agencies in North America, but around the globe. So signing MOUs with Francopol, and we have another MOU we're signing this week with some cities in Spain, just to make sure that we're leveraging the best of the respective organizations when we come together as a collective.
Looking at policing as a whole now, what do you think are some of the biggest issues that face policing in 2024?
I think and I'll defer to Terry on this, but I think trust, officer safety and wellness, and recruitment and retention remain as mainstays on topical areas of focus for us. I'll touch on one thing, the officer safety and wellness aspect of it, not new to us, not new to the field. But in our 5th year, I believe our annual our conference for officer safety and wellness this year broke records. Right. Technology, as Terry mentioned, AI, our technology conference broke attendance records. Our impaired driving and traffic safety conference broke records. So back to the value, and to Terry's point, the metrics, they're speaking to us, right? We're providing value. People are contending, and they're taking that and going forward and doing good things.
Yeah, but just to add on to what Vince said, recruitment and retention still remains probably #1 right now for the profession. And what we're seeing is it's not just here in the United States, we're seeing it around the globe. As we travel and deal with our policing partners, whether it's overseas or here, I mean, trying to recruit people into it is what #1 challenge for us. But trying to retain people, trying to keep people here, it's like trying to fill a cup that's got no bottom in it. It just keeps running out on us. But I think that as Vince mentioned, our trust building campaign is just really helping us to build trust in not only in the communities but with those folks that want to become police officers. Right. So I think that makes a huge difference.
So 2024 in Boston, give me some of the highlights.
We're thrilled to be back in Boston. We haven't been here since 2006, I believe.
Yeah.
And at the time, Boston was one of our most well-attended, if not the most well-attended conference in our history up to that point. We're expecting a pretty big crowd. For us, subject matter, you'll hear from all the policymakers that you want to hear from, whether it's the FBI director or a panel with the DEA administrator, the Marshal Service, the ATF director. We'll hear about media engagement, any number of things. There's no shortage of topics to get elbow deep in here at the IACP.
Yeah, we got about 250 workshops on top of the big stage events that we have here. We also have a contested election this year for our 3rd vice president. So we're asking folks that are eligible to vote to get out there and vote as well.
And I'd be remiss, Stephen, if we didn't talk about Chiefs Night this year. One of the hallmark events at the IACP conference this year, IACP 2024, will be at TD Garden, right. And it will be a concert venue event where folks will come and have fun, and you'll be hearing from artists from the Gin Blossoms to Rascal Flatts to ZZ Top. So there'll be a little bit of something for everybody's musical tastes at Chiefs Night this year.
Something to look forward to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks both ever so much indeed for joining us. Really appreciate it. I hope you have a great week. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Based on our philosophy and being a part of the Hayward Police Department, we owe it to this community to give them our very best. Here at the Hayward Police Department, we actually have an entire division that's dedicated to community outreach, and a lot of that involves our young people here in the city. Having programs designed to connect us to youth are important because it creates a safe space for us to be able to foster relationships and trust with them.
These relationships that we're forging with them are going to benefit the city 10 years from now, 15 years from now.
Thanks to the advisors, I've been exposed to so many different aspects of law enforcement that I know for sure that it's something that I want to do and I can see myself doing for a really long time.
In this profession, our effectiveness is truly based on the relationships that we have with our community and the trust that we're able to build with them. These programs are specifically designed to get members of the community, our young people, into the room to make this community better.
We've taken a look back at the highlights of last year. Now we turn our attention to the future. Incoming ICP President Ken Walker joins us now with his goals and priorities for the upcoming year. Ken, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
And congratulations.
Well, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what your priorities are for the next year as president.
We have to do something for officer safety and wellness. We put these young men and women in difficult situations, and we have a responsibility to try to take care of them when they deal with those traumatic events. That's probably the #1 priority I think we all have.
And do you think that's the main challenge facing policing at the moment?
Well, it is one now, but also recruiting and retention is a huge issue right now. It shouldn't be. If young men and women could feel what we feel being part of this team, we would have hundreds of people lining up wanting to be a part of it.
And what do you think can be done to change that?
I think over time we have to start telling our story better. Law enforcement worldwide has wonderful stories to tell, and it's kind of counter to our nature to talk about what we do. But I think we need to let people know there are heroic acts taking place every day that we need to let people know about.
One of the main functions, well, not one of the main functions, but one of the functions is the I, International. Are you looking forward to that part of the job?
Absolutely. I think 5 or 6 years ago during President Paul Sells' term, he really started stressing international. And every president since then has focused on international relationships also. They are a huge issue and nothing but good can come out of it.
Now you're president of the IACP, or you soon will be president of the IACP. How did you get involved in leadership role of the IACP?
My first chief's job was in the Dallas area, and the chiefs, neighboring chiefs that turned out to be my mentors expected it. It was expected of all of us that we serve at state and national and international levels. And I first became a committee member for the IACP Investigative Operations Committee. Fantastic group of people, and I learned so much, and those guys are still friends today.
So what advice would you give to a young policeman who's starting out at the moment?
You know, law enforcement's like life. It gets tough sometimes, and I would encourage them, don't give up. It's going to be tough. You're going to have tough days, but it's such a noble profession, and it's filled with wonderful people that will be your lifetime friends. I saw a sign in a restaurant recently. It said, pain is temporary, but quitting is forever. And stick with it. At the end of your career, you will be so proud of what you did and the relationships that you have.
My final question is, we're here this week in Boston, so what are some of the things you're looking forward to at this year's conference?
It's the same every year. It's to renew relationships and see old friends that you've been friends with forever, and catch up on what they're doing and what's happening around the world in law enforcement. But the biggest plus is the friends that you make.
Thank you ever so much indeed for taking the time to talk to us, and once again, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Pasadena Police Department is a full-service police department that covers the city of Pasadena, which is about 26 square miles. And we've got some major events that happen in the city of Pasadena, worldwide recognition. Two of those are the Rose Bowl, which occurs every year, and the Rose Parade, which actually happens the first of every year. We have people here of every ilk, and we try to attract the best in the personnel and the people that we hire to work for the Pasadena Police Department. Well, the history of the Pasadena Police Department is a history of growth. We are growing and embracing the contemporary rebranding that we want to make sure that we can constantly change and become one with the needs of this community.
The Pasadena Police Department has provided me with an excellent training standard to help with my career development. Anything that I've wanted to do, whether it be street crimes unit, field training, there's always been some kind of training that they're willing to send me to help develop myself in my career.
We're looking forward to a bright future for the city of Pasadena and our police department in developing personnel to be the next level police officers. We want to make sure everybody gets smarter. We want to make sure our service becomes more comprehensive and complete, and we're working to get to that end.
The IACP strives to develop police leaders at all levels through several different resources. Jim Hicks and David Roush are here to discuss how leadership development remains at the centre of the IACP's professional growth and development agenda. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Very much indeed for getting up early and coming to see us this morning, so thank you. So what is the DEI task force and how did it come about?
Well, this particular DEI task force was a result of the strategic planning of the executive board actually back in 2022, right. Through President Letney's leadership. And the purpose at that point in time, and it continues to be, to develop leaderships and a diverse leadership within IACP.
And what's its focus?
So the focus is on our committees and our board of directors and our executive board. And so we've done a really good job at this point through the past couple of presidents of getting diversity on our board and getting them into committees. Now our focus is on the executive board.
And why the DEI task force in the first place?
Well, I think that what we saw, especially as a vision for the organization, is that we wanted to be able to build off of what we had done in 2018, was looking at diversity within the profession. Now is really time to focus on the leadership in the profession, and it felt like it's a perfect time to look at that, perfect time to develop those leaders.
Absolutely. So when you look at the leadership, what are your goals?
So I think the goal is really to see the diversity that we see in our communities, is to see it within our organizations, and that's really the ultimate goal.
Now, as you say, you've been, this has already started the initiative. So what have you seen come from it?
I think we've had a couple of positives. We've seen that we've been able to recruit a more diverse board of directors.
Right.
And because of what we put out there and the efforts that we've made, there's been people who come forward who are interested that we probably would not have seen in the past.
One of the big issues everybody faces these days is engagement, right? It becomes more and more important and harder to do. And we're here in Boston with 17,000 people expected this week. How do you step that up? How do you maintain engagement?
Well, I think that's an intentional effort, right? I think we all have to be intentional about assuring that we are connecting. ICP is a great place to do that. As you said, over 17,000 members that will be here this week. It is really all of us on the board of directors, on our committees, the staff. It's intentional effort to engage all that are here.
My final question really is, how fundamentally important is it to the IACP to promote diversity?
Well, as Dave said earlier, we look at our profession and we look at our communities. And our communities insist that law enforcement right now, in this day and age, reflect not only what they look like, but also their opinions. And it's important that we accept those and know those opinions. And the only way you're going to get that is to be able to hear different opinions when you're sitting at the table.
Well, gentlemen, thank you ever so much indeed for coming and talking to us today. We really appreciate it, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
For some officers, responding to individuals with behavioral health conditions, including substance use and developmental disabilities, in a safe and effective manner can often present a challenge. The IACP is working to change that with a new initiative, and Domingo Jerez is here now to explain how. Pleasure to have you today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start with what is CRIT and what does it do?
So for years we've had what we call the Memphis model in law enforcement, which is really how do we respond to folks in crisis. And that model has developed over the years into what we call today CRIT, Crisis Response Intervention Training. The big difference between it, and it's a complementary model, if you will, but we've learned over the years that law enforcement has to adjust and has to respond to nuances that we now recognize that we didn't 30, 40 years ago, such as folks with developmental disabilities and the challenges we face with those type of things. Autism was something we never talked about 30 years ago. Today we do. And so trying to figure out how do we respond to those types of folks with differing challenges is really imperative. So we've built this curriculum in partnership with the Department of Justice, the ARC, University of Cincinnati, other partners to really hone in on what those challenges and differing abilities are out there in the community, to incorporate them in to training. So our training is really off-the-shelf training that's sponsored, as I mentioned, by the Bureau of Justice, Department of Justice, and then the trainers in the field are law enforcement. And that training is delivered by the Crisis Intervention Training Association that's out there and has been doing it for years with the Memphis model. Now they're picking this up and are doing it.
Very needed. So how does CRIT not only raise awareness, but also provide the protocols needed for law enforcement officials to respond to these types of individuals?
So this curriculum was developed really over a period of about 5 years. And it originally started, it was looked at by the Policy Research Associates out of New York, and PRA looked at it and said, okay, we need to figure out, Congress was saying, we need an academic model. University of Cincinnati got involved. Matter of fact, Chuck Schumer got involved and said after something called the Kevin and Avante law, which was about wandering and autism, kids with autism, and there's a lot of issues, wondering where there was water and what happens and they get lost and how do you respond to them. And folks, even folks with Alzheimer's, the response cannot be the same for every citizen, and we have to adjust to it. So those nuances, Congress said, okay, we're going to give the Department of Justice money, And we want you to develop a curriculum that can be off the shelf and implemented in every community across the country. So the model was developed. It now, so to speak, is there for everyone to tailor to their local needs and conditions. And realistically, it's a call to action to every agency in this country to say, pick it up, train your folks, and CITA International does it, they take it, they do the training in partnership with IACP, and it's delivered out into the field.
You've mentioned several of the agencies that were involved in the development of this curriculum. Why do you think it's important for those agencies to be involved, and what do they bring to the table?
You have to do this in partnership. IACP never goes it alone. You know, we know our members, we know certain aspects of the business, we know policing, obviously, but there's certain nuances. We're not experts on autism, we're not experts on Alzheimer's, we're not experts on developmental disabilities. So we need to bring folks in who can assist us. We know the field, we know law enforcement and the profession and what they're up against. We know there's crisis response that's necessary, but they can help us by developing those tools as in the best ways to approach individuals. And so that partnership was essential. And each one of them brought things that are crucial. For example, the new piece we're adding to the curriculum that we're looking at now is traumatic brain injuries. We don't know anything about traumatic brain injuries. We can deliver, we know the field, but we have experts like PRA and others that are going to work with us to develop that piece of the curriculum focusing on traumatic brain injuries.
Interesting. Can we talk tangibles? Can
Sure.
you highlight any of the improvements that you've seen within the departments that have implemented this curriculum?
No, it's incredible because we've seen too many tragedies, a result of where departments unfortunately have not had that type of proper training. They respond to an incident, and we know. I mean, it's you know, they give the fair warning, they follow their protocols, policy is followed, and then a tragedy occurs. Our intent with delivering this is to try to reduce the amount of tragedies that are out there. No one wants to see that. No law enforcement agency, no chief, no mayor, no one in the local community, not even, especially the folks who, the families who have someone who has those, a son, a daughter, et cetera, with needs, if you will, those special needs, if you will. And so the intervention is what's key. And if we can train, you know, law enforcement's never going to be a specialist in all field, but if we can increase their understanding and awareness, then maybe that response that they give is going to be just a little bit different and have a little bit more tolerance and understanding that will just those few seconds can make a difference and maybe stop that individual that's in crisis from doing something that they shouldn't do, carrying a knife, wielding a gun, whatever. Drop that weapon and save someone's life. In the end, the officer doesn't need to respond in a lethal way.
Very important information and very important training that you're providing. So thank you very much. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
The San Leandro Police Department is my second home. I truly believe that this is a family-oriented agency full of ambitious women and men that have dedicated themselves to serving the community and serving others.
We have a new chief of police that is as concerned for our community and the community needs as she is for the members of this police department.
I'm excited about the future of the San Leandro Police Department. We have an opportunity right now to really leverage technology to help in our crime-fighting efforts, but also we want to modernize the policing profession to help be more transparent and to meet the needs of all the communities that we serve.
We are thrilled to be with you this week in the beautiful city of Boston for IACP 2024. From fielding daily calls for assistance to being thrust into the national spotlight during the Boston bombing manhunt and response, the men and women in Boston Blue are committed to community policing.
Hi, I'm Commissioner Michael Cox of the Boston Police Department, and on behalf of Mayor Michelle Wu, we welcome you to Boston. We are honored to host the International Association of Chiefs of Police 2024 conference. Our city is patrolled based on 12 district stations, and we're also the Boston Harbor Master. IACP is about bettering modern-day policing, coming together with our peers from around the world to develop best practices, better ways to keep people safe and to make them feel safe. We have seen firsthand in Boston that public safety works best when communities engage with us in making it happen. The Boston Police Department has been working for the past year with IACP Committee to create a week of educational opportunities and events to build camaraderie. This year will be the largest attendance in IACP history. And we get it. Boston's a world-class city, a great place to visit and live. From the ride of Paul Revere to the Battle of Bunker Hill, we are a diverse city of leaders in fighting for safety and rights of those we serve. Boston is home to the most prestigious universities, medical institutions, and biotech community in the world. We are a city of best and first, and we strive to keep pace with that. The Boston Police Department provides public safety, but our mission is community policing. We've doubled down on what this means and are focused on building trust and partnership, and there's no doubt it's working. Our city is safer, and we are more closely connected to those we serve. In the past 2 years, we began with what we call Community CompStat. We take traditional CompStat model and bring it to the community meetings in each district. We give the residents details on what's happening in their neighborhood. We educate them on how to keep safe, and we listen to what they think our priorities should be. We are working to strengthen existing partnerships and build new ones. The faith-based community is a perfect example. We just completed a week with nearly 25 events in each of our districts across the city as part of the Faith in Blue. The weekend-long national effort has yielded great results, and this was our second year of expanding it to a full week. Our officers organized events with our partners. There were safety classes, peace walks, blessing of animals, singing, something for everyone. It's about building community, and with it, building trust. Like many of you, Boston has struggled with recruitment the last few years. We're being intentional about finding new officers, not just adding numbers, but officers who want to be the future of community policing. We ran a campaign in targeted neighborhoods where we saw lower numbers of candidates coming from. We met the young people where they were. We used live events, social media, billboards, radio ads, even a jumbotron at the Boston Celtics game. We want to increase diversity to truly reflect those we serve. Last year, I signed on to the 30 by 30 pledge, committing 30% of our recruits being women by the year 2030. Our most recent class of officers was just sworn in, and it's the most diverse class in BPD history. As we work to attract new officers, we are also working to retain our dedicated officers and to support their wellness, both physically and their mental health. While you're here, we hope you take some time for yourself. A great option is our 5K IACP Fenway to the Finish Fun Run. Cross the Boston Marathon finish line and run through the oldest active Major League Baseball park in the U.S., Fenway Park. And on Chiefs Night, we will be on the floor of the Boston TD Garden, where our beloved Bruins play and our Celtics just won a world championship. If you need anything while you're here, please reach out to our office. I hope you enjoy our IACP conference and your time with us here in Boston.
Now to an exciting new partnership between journalist Jeff Pegues and the IACP. Here's Jeff now with the new podcast giving a new voice to law enforcement.
Oftentimes, when the law enforcement community talks to the media, it's through a filter. And that's why I created, with the IACP, Critical Dispatch. This podcast is about taking away that filter and giving the American people an accurate picture of what law enforcement really does in this country. When law enforcement, police chiefs in this country are facing a critical crisis, they can come to this podcast and feel like they're going to get a fair shake. And that's why we felt that Critical Dispatch was the kind of podcast that could tell the story about policing in an accurate, unfiltered way. Now, that does not mean that I won't be asking tough questions of these law enforcement officials, because I will. I'm still a journalist after all. But this is about presenting as accurate a picture as possible about policing, not only in this country, but internationally as well. And so we encourage you to go to your favorite podcast download spot and download Critical Dispatch, because it is the kind of podcast that you will not hear anywhere else. Part of our mission with this podcast is giving police chiefs across this country, policing experts, law enforcement in general, a place to go where they know they can get their message out.
That's a wrap on this day one of IACP TV. Remember, you can find all the IACP TV episodes and our entire department film series playing on the TVs here in the Boston Convention Center, on the in-house channels at our partner hotels, on the IACP meeting website, and on all of our social media channels. So make sure you like and subscribe to get all IACP related content.
Thanks, Audrey. Today, what a great kickoff we've had to such an engaging week. Tomorrow we're going global as we turn to the global policing efforts underway, and we'll be sharing important information for any agency looking to join the trust building campaign. It's a must-see episode.
Certainly looking forward to that and to our film series, where we will head south and bring you the unique ways that departments in Texas and Georgia are combating crime. So until tomorrow,
we'll see you there.